Woody Allen's Decades in Film.
A podcast about the incredible filmography of one of the most prolific and most controversial filmmakers of our time. From Redneck Cella Studios, A&B in Hong Kong, we are your hosts, William Elvin and Q.
Welcome everyone to our show. This is What Woody Do, where we look at the filmography of Woody Allen and see it with fresh perspective.
So for those of you guys who have just tuned in, who have no idea what our show is about, basically this is a chronological discussion of Woody Allen's films over the years that he made them. So William, he is kind of a lot more exposed into the fandom, putting it lightly. Whereas myself, I am what you call a Woody virgin, or I have just gotten my feet wet with this whole Woody Allen cinematic universe.
Right.
And
if we can call it that.
Yeah, if we can even call it that. This movie, so off air, me and William were kind of like, so we just finished watching the film, and I had mixed feelings about it. But more about that later on in the show. We just saw Annie Hall, and this was a film in 1977 where Woody Allen plays Alvy Singer, a neurotic TV writer and comedian who is reassessing his life through the lens of his romantic relationships, most especially his recently ended one with Annie Hall, played by the lovely Diane Keaton.
Yeah, lovely
so that
as always.
That is Annie Hall. Going back to what I was getting at, I don't understand how I feel about this film. I mentioned to William earlier, before we started recording, that this film, I can't place it. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I don't know if I mean, there are bits and pieces where I enjoyed it. It was great. It made me feel things. Right. But there were moments where I was like, what is going on? Okay, so a little bit of backstory, which probably colored my viewing pleasure for today's episode, was that so there's a bit of technical difficulty, so I kept on going back and forth in the timeline of the movie, where it would break up in some parts, and I had to go back, and then there are distractions. So unlike a full cinematic experience, which, by the way, we were quite fortunate to me and the wife, we were quite fortunate to watch an actual cinema, an actual movie in the cinema recently. Nice. So this, we haven't seen. I think the last time we saw an actual live movie was like
in the theater
in 2019.
yeah.
So
the theaters are back. So
anyway, I digress. So there was a bit of going back and forth, watching the film, trying to catch maybe key points in the dialogue that I didn't catch because of the lousy connection. And then there were distractions, like I opened a bag of chips, which turned out to be really spicy, so I had to run to get water. That sort of stuff. That kind of hampers the experience of watching a movie. But this is the first movie in the 5. Is this the 6th episode?
This is the 6th. I think this is Woody Allen number 6. Yeah.
Okay, so in the last 6 movies, I always had a notepad full of notes. For this movie, I had the title, Annie Hall, and in quotation marks, latency period.
That happens early on in the film. That
was it. That was all I wrote down. I was also telling William earlier that this film kind of made me feel, I mean, I don't think there's a better word for it. It made me feel stupid.
And I was asking why. I mean, is it because of like the dated references that you I mean, I could understand. Like when I first saw this film, and I saw this film, I think in 2000, or
Mhm.
2012. I mean, there were a lot of references that I really didn't get at all. I mean, I the first time I saw this, I just got the basics. He's a TV writer, he's a comedian who is questioning himself
Mhm.
through the string of relationships he has been
Mhm.
in. One thing that really struck me is how great Woody and Diane
Their
are
chemistry?
together. Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
just it's phenomenal.
Their
Um,
chemistry is electric. That's
right,
that's 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 the only way to describe it. It's how they play off each other physically and
right.
in dialogue. It's different, quite something to see. And every
Yeah.
time I see them kind of like playing that on the on air or on the film, I felt it
Yeah.
but also I had this idea. Well, I had this kind of thought in my brain while we were watching. It felt like a reenactment of yin and yang. You know how
Right. Yeah.
polar
Yeah.
opposites were fighting, and I think that was a deliberate kind of like
Right. Right.
treatment to the film, where Woody Allen was playing this very negative, very nihilistic writer,
Hmm.
whereas Diane Keaton's Annie Hall was very positive, very bubbly,
Right.
very optimistic, and it felt like that.
Yeah.
And at certain points during the film, it felt clashing so much that it didn't make sense in my brain, that I was spacing out.
Right. Right. This film is obviously very much like a reenactment of a lot of
Mhm,
things that happened to Woody and Diane. I mean, the title is Annie Hall.
mhm.
Diane Keaton's real name is Diane Hall. That's the
Oh,
key to
really? I did.
everything.
I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
not know
right,
that.
right, right.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
so yeah. So this is the Diane Keaton. This is Diane Keaton. So it shows, right? It shows the way they talk to each other. I really could imagine them doing the lobster scene. Just like that could have happened like some time in their relationship. Even the black spider thing. These things are like it felt to me like this whole film is a like an hour and a half of Woody Allen's ramblings put on film. It's
Mm,
random. It's like it's a hodgepodge of ideas put together, but at the heart of it all, it's an honest look at how relationships go and how
yeah.
seemingly comfortable people with each other will fall apart. That's how I saw it, and I think the last line of the film
Hmm.
is like this film changed the way I personally view relationships. Like I could say that this film changed my life. The first time I heard that last line, like it just like if you were asking me for a blown away moment, that would have been
Yeah. Hmm.
that. The joke was, there's a psychiatrist who got approached by a man who said, my brother thinks he's a chicken, and the
Hmm.
psychiatrist said, okay, so why don't you turn him in? And the man said, well, I would, but I need the eggs.
That
And
that yeah. That.
that's yeah, that's how this character wants to view relationships. It's irrational, it's crazy, it's absurd, but at the end of the day, we all need the eggs. If you ever decide to see this film again, I'm sure you're gonna have new ideas out of it, and I
Mm,
think that's the power of this. I understand that it's really a challenging film, especially for people who are not used to seeing non-linear films. This is a very non-linear film. It's like the act
yeah.
one, act two, act three
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
gets thrown out the window. It starts with it
Yeah.
starts with Woody Allen and Keaton already in the middle of their relationships. Their relationship,
Yeah.
they're having problems. They're having sexual problems, and then they like Woody Allen just goes here and out, in and out of like reality, breaks the fourth wall, talks to the
Oh
people,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
talks to the viewers. Of course, some scenes where he would get stopped by random passersby and they'd have conversations. It's
I
a
like those scenes.
and
Yeah.
I think you'd feel the same way. I mean, I was talking to Q about this. This film, if you sat me down and asked me to just describe every scene, I probably could describe every scene of this film, but not in order. Never in order. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what comes next.
Mm.
That's how this film feels to me. This is the seventh time I've seen this film. I don't know what comes next. I probably just know the order from from the opening monologue to
Mm-hmm.
the first time we see them together, when Diane Keaton gets off the cab and they watch a movie.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I
Mm.
know everything, but I can't just like lay it in a straight order.
Mm.
So that just means like this is not a story driven thing. It's not. It's just an examination of human relationships.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
it's good that you mentioned the lobster scene, because for me, I think that those two scenes, because there were two lobster scenes, and those two scenes kind of like paint the proper contrast with how
Yeah.
uh, he wanted to kind of like envision how messy, how real, and how raw relationships are as portrayed in this film. You're
Yeah.
right when you said that it's such a retelling of like how relationships are, like how dirty they are, and I really could
Right.
imagine them in real life doing that lobster scene or doing that spider scene, and how
Right.
raw the emotions are,
Yeah.
and then it brings such pain to me when he does the same lobster scene with a different lady,
Right.
and everything that made that scene special just went out the window.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was such a painful kind of poignant scene to culminate on at the
Right.
near the end of the movie. And when his monologue at the very end, that eggs quote, that hits right home,
Right.
like,
Right.
because yeah, because relationships are just, no matter how dirty, how no matter how unrealistic or
Yeah.
how bad it makes you feel, you'd still gravitate and you'd still hold on to
Right.
that because you really do need the eggs.
Yeah. You really do need the eggs.
Before we continue today's discussion, we'd like to invite everyone to follow us on our channels and social media accounts. What Would You Do podcast is available on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and other major streaming platforms.
Yes, you can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. All you have to do is visit our homepage at www.williamelvin.com/whatwouldydoo for all our links.
Or you can email us, and we'd love to have a quick chat with you at whatwouldydoo@gmail.com.
Also, a lot of inventive things I think that were done here. Of course, the number one rule, or at least what the school system teaches us writers, is that you show and you don't tell. This film opens with the central character just just describing himself to the audience. That's a total breaking of that rule. You have Woody Allen himself saying, "Hey, I'm not a morose character. I'm not those depressive types. I'm just
Yeah.
he's laying it out and he's explaining everything, and then you go to the kid, his kid version, and
Yeah.
it could feel unbalanced at times, like knowing what I know now, after this film, what would happen for the next films. It seems kind of unbalanced because this is like a transition from the early funny ones
Yeah. Yeah.
to this kind of experimental thing that Woody was doing in the 1970s. There were still gags in here.
Yeah, there were
You know,
quite a lot
like
actually.
like that sequence with the kids, with the kids describing
Yeah, yeah,
what happened to them when they
yeah,
grew
yeah,
old.
yeah.
That's a funny one. That's a very funny scene.
Even as far as like Sleeper, when at least
Right.
when his series of films started with Diane Keaton, there's still a lot of things to unpack, and I'm sure if I watched them all again, I mean,
Yeah.
even as far back as Take the Money and Run, there would still be a lot of things that I would probably pick up. But
Yeah.
for this one, there's just so many bits of dialogue that I found myself grasping for straws.
Yeah.
It's it's such an eloquent movie, and and at the same time, it's not eloquent at all
Yeah. Right.
because
Right.
the
Right.
point of eloquence is for you to be understood.
Yeah, right. And
So
no one can blame us for that. I mean, I had to
exactly,
look up,
exactly.
I had to look up a lot of these things,
Yeah,
just to get what it was trying to say.
I guess a lot of the challenge for me in watching this movie, it just stirs a lot of confusion, conflicting emotions for me because there's such an expectation when you hear the word Annie Hall. Anytime I would enter Woody Allen's name on Google, Annie
Yeah,
Hall would be one
I
of the
know. Yeah,
first things that come out. And
right.
automatically it kind of like puts on that false expectation on you that, oh, this movie is going to be great. This 95% fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes.
96, man.
Oh, is it
96.
96? Is automatically giving me vibes that if you don't enjoy this movie, you're probably stupid.
No, if here's the thing. You know how musicians would listen to the Beatles,
Hmm.
and for example, if like newer musicians listen to a Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and everyone says that, it's a pop masterpiece, and if you hear it now, some people would think, well, it's not a bad album. I don't exactly hear what's special with it,
Yeah.
because it was in the 1960s, and 1966, and they were trying out new things back then that would have
Hmm.
probably been heard a lot since. But the point is, I think, at least with what happened to me, because this is not the first Woody Allen I've seen. The first Woody Allen film I've seen is Purple Rose of Cairo, and this was the second one. I had the advantage of seeing a mature Woody Allen, and then go back to this, and have that perception of, okay, so this was what he was trying to do, and I saw a lot of of the influences and stuff. I had to look up the references and watch it again. This is a film that is very hard to unpack at once, and that
Yeah.
is why we are calling for like reactions from people who've been there. We've
Yeah.
had emails from Matthias. We have a guy who's commenting on YouTube. I think his name is Ho, who's like keeping tabs on everything, and
Alright.
converses with us. We need
Yeah.
these opinions, and we need these feedback. And if you got the time, I would suggest you go back to this maybe after Manhattan, or after or before we do the decade retrospective for the 1970s. I remember you reacting when you saw the marijuana scene while they were
Oh
making love, and
yeah,
then yeah.
yeah. That
So
scene was beautiful. I liked how they dealt with intimacy in this film. There's a certain tenderness that Diane Keaton and Woody Allen, whenever they do these scenes, I mean, it really hits home the way they portray the characters that they play. I guess because
they were playing
they
themselves.
were they were being themselves, yeah. Um, but that particular scene where she literally had her out of body
Yeah, right,
experience
right.
in the scene. I thought that was beautiful, and quite sad.
Yeah. I think this is a sad movie.
It is, it is.
Yeah, I think, what if you look at it like right now, you remember it not as a whole film, but like just a series of scenes.
I do also already remember it in those terms, kind of like
Right.
because as I've said, a lot of for a bunch of the scenes, particularly those leading up to scenes between Woody Allen and Diane, those in between scenes where it's just other people or him and
Yeah.
his other relationships, and those sort of scenes, um, they already feel like it's just a jumble of scenes and just different things happening in different points of the movie. This movie gives me sad clown vibes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that
You
is
know,
true. That is true. That is quite appropriate. Yeah. It's a
yeah,
funny guy, but it's like
yeah,
very
like
sad.
it's to the point that it feels tragic. That and no matter how, like, at the very end of the movie, when he was looking at the scene he made, that he wrote, that's exactly the same portrayal as him and Annie Hall.
With a different ending.
With the
It's
different ending,
yeah, it's
exactly.
a much more
It's
happier ending. Like okay, I'll go
Yeah,
with you.
and it's such a sad scene that no matter how much you try to manipulate life, you can't really do it. And it
Yeah,
and he says it so well when he said that things just don't work out the way that you want them
yeah,
to. And it's only in these things that you actually reach that ideal happy end that you want to that you actually want people to see.
yeah,
It's when you have that external effort to create that happy end, when in fact that's not how it actually went through you know
yeah.
and it's really it just breaks my heart.
Maybe that's the power of this movie. Obviously, we weren't there. Again, we weren't there when this was first
Yeah.
shown. But this film beat Star Wars for the Best Picture for that year's Oscars.
Wow.
So it was between this and Star Wars. This one, obviously, the cultural ripple that Star Wars created in terms
What?
of
Yeah.
like blockbuster hits were like that was bigger. But you could say like eh, in a way that art films are viewed, pieces of serious filmmaking.
Hmm.
I'm not knocking Star Wars. We are both big Star Wars fans here, but you get what I mean in terms of like
Yeah,
serious
of course.
filmmaking. This probably has a lot more substance to unpack. It has a lot more deeper perspectives in life that
Hmm.
were discussed, and this was a brave movie and probably proves that it's such a big departure from the last from the
Oh, it
first
was.
five
Oh, it
films that
was.
he made.
Yeah.
I mean, the first five films were like just straight up, okay, did you laugh at it? Yes. Therefore, I love it, right? It's like that. It was like that for the first five films. I mean, and this is just like, okay, did you laugh at it? Yes, but also no. It kind of made me feel sad. Did you understand the movie? Yes, but also kind of no, because it's like it's just like a jumble of things.
Hmm.
Did you like their performances? Oh yeah, definitely. It's
Oh,
such a
yeah.
like it's a roller coaster
Yeah,
of
it
like
is.
things,
and, and so apt that you mentioned roller coaster,
Yeah,
because he
the roller
lived under
coaster.
a roller
Yeah, right, right,
coaster.
right, right. Oh, my favorite scene in the whole film, or like maybe a bit more appropriate thing to say, is the best idea for me in this film
Hmm.
is the way he went into the memory of his house and
Oh, okay. Yeah,
talked
yeah, yeah.
directly to his family, and
Yeah.
it's a very very chaotic family. And reading Woody Allen's autobiography, he kind of drew from his own experiences here. His mom and dad, the way he described it, always bickered a lot, and it's
Hmm.
probably an influence to how this was. And is there's such it's such a bittersweet thing to be able to visualize yourself, childhood version of you, and just going back and reassessing things. And
Yeah.
that hit me harder than anything else.
I totally agree with your assessment that this this one. I mean, I've been saying this for the past maybe last two episodes that I need to watch it again. And
Right, right.
this one is 100%. I really, if I can get a copy of this movie today, I'd probably watch it again later.
Right? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you're right, because this movie is such a different take from the first five movies that I've seen, and yeah, I mean that's why it kind of like draws up mixed feelings, because
Yeah.
I almost feel guilty laughing at some of his jokes here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know how there are some punchlines here that is really meant to be kind of like a gut punch to laugh at, but it's still a gut punch.
Were you able to list them down, or like, because there are still a lot. Like, there are a lot of
yeah.
one-liners in this film.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
of them are like straight out of like Take the Money and Run. Hey, don't knock masturbation. It's sex with someone I love. Things like that.
And
But
his
then
Jewish
you
jokes
also
again.
have the right, and you also
wanna
have
eat?
the joke like Jew, not did you, it's Jew wanna eat, and you also have that Grammy Hall is a she just
Yeah,
looks at Woody Allen and just like she sees a rabbi in there. There are still these elements there, and but there are a lot of deeper things, like the first monologue, it was full of it, like I wouldn't want to belong to any club that would have me as a member.
as a member, yeah.
And that's a sad one. That's a very, very
That's super
sad
sad. That is super sad. Self-deprecating and sad. Like,
self-loathing even.
yeah, exactly.
If you're enjoying our discussion, another perfect companion for your Woody Allen film marathons is the Woody Allen Pages podcast at www.woodyallenpages.com.
It's a great resource for film by film details that would surely add to your Woody Allen viewing experience. So check them out.
Can I just say that every time I saw Diane Keaton in her element in this film, it was such a treat. Not that she performed any less in the previous movies or in the other movies that she's in, but oh my god, here,
This is a Diane Keaton movie. This is a Diane Keaton movie.
yeah, it's wow. Is all
Yeah.
I can say. Yeah, she for sure deserved that Best Actress win.
Right. Oh my god. Just so lovely. I mean, it's so natural, like the way she would just like
Yeah.
the awkwardness of it, but it's still smart, and it's like it's amazing. This is a real character.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not the typical
There was
Woody Allen
there was no
film.
acting involved.
Yeah, right.
There was
It
no
didn't
acting
feel like
involved.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I really love about this film is that when the scenes are real, it feels like
Oh.
you're really
Oh, yeah.
watching real people talk. That it doesn't matter if you're getting the references or not. It's just like these are how people talk. And then when it becomes a fantasy, the line there, even if there is no other film technique to separate the fantasy and the reality in this film, except
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some things, like it becomes a cartoon and things like that. But it's like when he shifts to, you remember that scene where they were arguing about the Frank Sinatra dream? Diane Keaton went home and said she just got a session with her analyst, and
Oh, right,
she
yeah,
dreamt
yeah, yeah.
of
Frank
Frank
Sinatra.
Sinatra. And then the realization was, your name is Alvy Singer, Sinatra is a singer, and in my dream Sinatra is putting a pillow over my face. So the analyst thinks that I think you are suffocating me in this relationship. And that felt just so real. And just like that, Woody Allen talks to the camera and talks to the audience. You heard what she said, right? So it's like when you go back to see this and you see these details, you're gonna understand why this film I think is so special. I love this film. This is probably gonna be my fourth or fifth top Woody Allen favorite movies. It's not
Okay.
in my top three, but the the more I see it, the more I also appreciate what he has done here, and
I
it's
can
just
see that.
so
Yeah.
I just so it's just so amazing. But I also told you that Woody Allen does not like this film.
Yes, which
Right,
caught
yeah,
me by
yeah.
surprise.
Right, yeah, yeah. He doesn't. Well, to be fair, he doesn't like most of his films. He just lists down a few films that he generally likes, but this is not one of them. And maybe it's because of the process that went into this one.
Yeah.
It's originally gonna be a different film, and then the editing, it turns out that they wanted to push Diane Keaton's character front and center. It was gonna be
Mhm.
called anhedonia, a
Mhm.
condition where one doesn't feel any pleasure, and that
Yeah.
makes sense, because that's his character.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so probably had another film in mind, and then it becomes like this, so he doesn't like it very much.
Mhm.
But I think this is the perfect time to talk about the influence of this film,
Mhm.
and this is gonna be quite an interesting topic. It's cited as one of the earlier incarnations of romantic comedies. I could see why, but
Mhm.
I think it's a matter of like a lot of the people who cite this as a pioneer of modern rom-coms,
Rom-coms.
as we call it,
Mhm.
right? They're quite missing some things here because I remember I was talking to one friend who thought uh, the Woody Allen character in Annie Hall
Mhm.
is the prototype of roles, like the Michael Cera roles, the loser nice
Okay.
guy, the
The
loser
awkward
nice
nice
guy.
guy.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right, right. This is cited as the influence for 500 Days of Summer. um, and I think it's like,
Okay.
when you look at it like that, it's like the Woody Allen character here is not, number one, not a loser, and number two,
No.
he's not a nice guy.
Yeah,
And
I
so
agree.
it's baffling to me that people point at this and say, "Hey, you want to know how destructive this Woody Allen stereotype character is? He is the father of all these losers losers who listen to Weezer, and they're like geeks, and they present themselves as they're the nice guys and trying to get the dream girl and things like that." But I mean, I could see it when you look at it like on the surface, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
I don't think
Mm.
Woody Allen wrote this character for him to get sympathy, because in no way do I see a character here who's like, "Hey, I'm a nice guy. People should love
Yeah.
me, But why can't you
Yeah.
love me? I'm a nice guy. I'm not like that other douche who's like he's better looking." It's not like that, which is the rom-com of today. And
Yeah.
it's just like, are we missing something here? Are we attributing things to this Woody Allen character that is misrepresented or misunderstood? What do you think? What do you think about
I
that?
mean, I don't agree with him being the awkward like stereotype nice guy, because in those movies those guys are losers and those guys don't get the girl, or at least
Yeah.
don't get the girl at first. But here, clearly Woody Allen's character had girls.
Yeah.
Like
Lots of them,
he
right?
lots of, and attractive girls at that. It's not
Yeah.
it's not it's not as if he was making an effort to, okay, let's
Right.
play the sympathy card. No, he wasn't. He was, he had
Yeah,
lovely
right.
ladies, right, left, and everywhere he went. And it's not as if he was ever, really single in this movie. It was always
Yeah,
at every
right,
turn he
right,
had
right.
a relationship. So I disagree with how that kind of, he was the predecessor to all of these
Yeah, right, right. And you'd
nice
hear that
guy
a lot.
roles.
I heard that a
Yeah.
lot. I was talking to one friend who's like, she was very you know how people overread these things, right? Like the
Yeah,
political
yeah,
implications, like the social implications of these ones.
yeah.
The worst that I've heard was that she thought the Woody Allen stereotype, which is this one, the Alvy
Hmm.
Singer Annie Hall character, was the prototype to that, and it just the way they saw it is that it spawned a lot of films that objectified women as just a goal for awkward loser types to get, which is
Okay.
like they call it they call the women the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and it's like number one, Diane Keaton here, the Annie Hall character here is so powerful. She's so independent.
Mm.
She's not a stock character where she was
Yeah,
not written at all as just an object of affection of a Woody Allen.
correct.
It's not
Yeah,
like
I
that.
agree.
They were together. Diane Keaton actually wanted to have something for herself.
Yeah,
This is there are none of that modern rom-com dynamics here. And
yeah,
it's just weird to me that people are boxing it that way. It's weird to me. I really can't
and I mean,
understand it.
in this film, it was a lot of the circumstances that they got together and they broke up, uh, were on Annie Hall's terms.
Yeah, right, right. Right.
So I don't understand how she can be kind of like objectified in that way,
Right,
because
right.
I mean, I agree with with your point that her character here is very powerful. I mean,
Right.
it's she was the goal.
Mhm.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. But
even at the very end, Woody Allen never got her,
right.
you know,
Right.
and she maintained that position of being the ideal reference that people would probably, that I maybe would agree to, is maybe 500 Days of Summer,
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
where Joseph
Joseph.
Gordon-Levitt's character,
Yeah.
uh and Zoe Deschanel's
Zoe.
character
Yeah.
kind of maybe fit the bill of Annie Hall and Alvy Singer, but not
Yeah.
even. I
Right.
mean,
It's a reference. Even the shots, like I remember the shots that, like, there's a 500 Days of Summer shot where they're sitting on a bench, and obviously
oh yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
a Woody Allen scene. Like they got that from Manhattan. Woody Allen wrote himself not as a woe is me, pick
Yes,
me
I agree.
character. He's
I
he's
agree.
quite abrasive in here. He's very nihilistic. His point of view in life
Very
is very dark.
abrasive.
It's like it's not anything that people would aspire to be.
Yeah. I remember that scene in the while they were waiting for the movie.
Yeah, yeah, right. Oh my.
Where the guy was talking about movies and he was like, why are you talking so loudly? What do you know about
Yeah,
films?"
right. And they were Marshall McLuhan. I had to look him up. Oh, the guy behind him, or
Mhm.
behind them, is like talking nonstop about the new Fellini film. Fellini
Okay.
is, of course, an Italian filmmaker, right?
Mm.
One of Woody's favorites. And so the guy is saying, it's like, oh, the new Fellini movie is not good. It's like this and like this and like this. So the original joke, I got this from the gift by William Miller of the Woody Allen pages. So
Yay!
what Woody wanted to have had was Fellini himself. Like
Okay.
he was saying, why are you talking about Fellini? Oh, I study the Fellini and I teach this
Yeah.
course. Oh, I have Fellini here. I'm gonna say, which the joke is still the same, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
just got
exactly.
Marshall McLuhan there. And the joke is still funny, but that would have been awesome if Fellini himself was there. But the thing is that Fellini did not want to travel from Italy to the U.S. just for one gag. It's just like, I remember I had this relationship once, and we saw this film. I made her see this film, and you remember that first time at the cinema where Woody was like, "Oh, I can't enter the
Oh
cinema."
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we missed two
We start,
minutes, but we just
yeah,
missed the titles. No, I have to see it from the beginning
start to
the end.
finish. Yeah.
Yeah, and my ex girlfriend was like, "This is so you." this is like you, this person is like you.
Before we continue today's discussion, we'd like to invite everyone to follow us on our channels and social media accounts. What Would You Do podcast is available on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and other major streaming platforms.
Yes, you can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. All you have to do is visit our homepage at www.williamelvin.com/whatwouldydoo for all our links.
Or you can email us, and we'd love to have a quick chat with you at whatwouldydoo@gmail.com.
We're gonna move on to two more movies for this decade. The next one is also a Diane Keaton film. It's called Interiors.
Woo!
And,
More Diane Keaton.
yeah. And then 1979, he wraps up the decade with another Diane Keaton film, Manhattan from 1979. We are very, very, very excited to see how these next two films would come across for Q. Judging by the reaction we got from Q with Annie Hall.
The fact that this might have been one of the longer episodes that we've had, considering that this isn't episode 3, and it wasn't an episode.
Right. Yeah, it's not an anthology of sex
Right.
stories. There's no sheep in this one.
No, not at all. And this is all from the first minute to the last. This is all meat, like what we're discussing. This is all about the film. Again, I've said that this film made me want to ask questions, and this for sure. I'm downloading.
Oh, you are. Okay.
The movie already in the background. I think this movie was very beautifully shot. The locations, the scenes, and the way that Woody and Diane kind of like played off each other. Brilliant, beautiful. Those are kind of like very. They're basically burned in my head as such scenes of beauty. And they're very, very well made. What I didn't quite understand, again, as I've mentioned earlier, is I found myself kind of trying to grasp at what he was trying to say, just because the dialogue was so kind of there were bits and pieces of the dialogue where I was like, I didn't quite get that. I didn't get the reference. What are they talking about? And because it's such a jumble of different scenes, it was quite a challenge for me to learn and just go back. I think this is a beautiful movie. I think like beautifully shot, beautifully acted, but I need to watch it again. I need to understand. I need to kind of like dive into the dialogue, dive into what they were trying to say. And to be perfectly honest, I just want to see Diane Keaton again.
You're gonna see her for some more movies after this one. Oh, you mentioned the shot, right? The cinematography of this was done by Gordon Willis, who also did The Godfather.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah, it's beautifully shot because
it's very beautiful.
He is called the Prince of Darkness in terms of cinematography, because like he loves to shoot in the dark. There's a lot of that here. Like the minimal lighting and stuff. We're gonna see more of him in the next few films. The next film is Interiors. So going from Annie Hall, what do you expect to see in Interiors without looking at the wiki? And stuff?
Of course. On my left, I mean, full disclosure, on my left is just the IMDb page of the Annie Hall quotes.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I have
Probably a lot.
I have a lot. There are 98 items.
Wow.
So there's just a lot. But okay, Interiors. I mean, jumping off from Annie Hall from Love and Death. I don't know. I don't know what to expect anymore. I was like, what is happening? Because the first 5 movies easy. I mean,
Easy,
comedy,
right?
comedy, comedy. Bit weird, then comedy, comedy, comedy.
Yeah, right.
But this leap after Love and Death is I'm almost afraid to expect anything
Wow.
from Interior.
Wow. Wow. Okay,
So
yeah. Let us
okay,
see. Let us see, because it's
yeah,
like, oh my god.
you know
Okay.
what I would you know what I want what you know what I want to do, because
Yeah.
Annie Hall for me kind of like, even though I said I didn't have any expectations towards it, I did just because the internet is the internet, and it
Yeah.
kind of like put on these stupid expectations in my head. It being what it is with its 96% fresh rating, I thought I'd love it more. So for Interiors, I'm not going to expect. I'm stripping all of that from my head.
Yeah. I
I'm
believe this is
gonna
the first time you're even hearing of this film, right?
yes. So so I'm guessing it's gonna be an inside look of something, just because of the title
Yeah,
Interior.
interiors, yeah. It's very inside, yeah. It's very insider.
Uh, it, maybe it's I don't even know.
Okay,
I
yeah.
have
Yeah.
absolutely no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good to have absolutely no idea. Here's what I noticed. The things that you like the most are the things that you have no expectations out of. Like
Oh yeah,
I
oh
never
yeah,
expected you to like everything you always wanted to know about sex that much,
I
because you
mean,
were just like
who
blown
would-
away by it. It's just like,
I mean,
it's so new. I mean, you were asking me what's the plot of this film. Does it even have a plot? And you don't have any idea. When you saw it, it was like, wow. Oh, so this is it. You
yeah.
know. And everyone, even our listeners, are telling you now, like, oh, I can't wait until you get to Annie Hall or stuff. And it just colors your perception, right? Now we're going to
Yeah,
interiors.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
This is emotionally tiring for me.
yeah,
No, but it's
yeah.
a
Also,
good
prepare yourself. Yeah, prepare. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good thing to be tired with. I'm slowly learning how to kind of like deal with the amount of verbiage Woody Allen has in
Oh
his
yeah.
films.
98 quotes on IMDb,
Oh my
and all
god.
of them are like, it just drops like a, like, like, you know, when you don't turn the faucet off,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
it feels
It
like
just
that.
keeps on
It
going.
just
Yeah.
drips down. Yeah.
I mean, for those of you who are first time listeners, my not to say that I don't enjoy the occasional art film, or I'm totally stupid when it comes to movies, but let's I mean this is you know how I like some of the earlier movies of Woody Allen, but
Woody,
I
yeah.
also like Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, right. So you're the perfect specimen. I think you're the first. You're the perfect experimental guy for this kind of,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
So pardon all of the stupid observations.
Is this your closest experience to like a pure art house film
Oh yeah,
stuff?
oh yeah. I have been exposed to a lot. Well, not to say a lot of art films like growing up, like in uni. But I have had like my own share, my share of uh, art house films.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
I've
outside
seen
of the academe. That's what you're saying.
not
It's like
outside of the
not
academe.
outside of
Yeah.
like, oh, it's part of your curriculum, or
No, and
Yeah.
not, definitely not a foreign film. A lot of the films that I've seen, like growing up and in university, are local films that have had local films in the Philippines that have
Yeah,
had critical
right.
acclaim.
Oh yeah,
Um,
right.
and
Like the Ishmael Bernals, the Nino
yeah,
Brocas, yeah.
those
Yeah.
things. Yeah. And obviously, very far from the experience of watching Woody Allen.
Yeah. So,
And I mean, I'm very
interesting.
thankful. I'm very thankful to kind of have had the opportunity to experience this with you guys, with the listeners for sure, because this is I'm enjoying myself quite surprisingly. And if I may, if I can be totally candid with you guys, going into the first episode of What Would He Do, I was kind of expecting myself to kind of have this what the fuck impression. It's you know that feeling when you enter a building that you're not supposed to be in.
Yeah, right.
that
Why am I doing here? Yeah,
well, exactly.
Yeah, you feel like the black sperm in everything you always wanted to do.
Exactly.
You expected yourself to be a black sperm. It's like,
Oh
what am
my
I
God,
doing here? What am I doing here? Yeah. Don't you think it's a good thing that Woody Allen's film started out that way? Because like it warms you up, right? Now that you went into Annie Hall, it's just like it warms you up. You already like the guy. I mean, you already respect the guy that's there.
Exactly.
So it's like most probably if this is the first thing you've seen out of him, it's like I don't quite. What is he doing?
If this is the first movie that have seen of Woody Allen, I'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah. What is he trying to do? Why is he talking so fast? Why is everything like this?
Why is he doing 500 Days of Summer? This has already been done.
And now you see this film again, you see Annie Hall again, and see 500 Days of Summer again, and then you'd say, why are they doing 500 Days of Summer? That's already been done.
Yeah, exactly.
But Interiors is next. Interiors is next. It's very... I'm sure a lot of our listeners are very excited for you to see Annie Hall again, and we'll come back to that after we see and review Manhattan. But see you again on Interiors, and let's see what Woody will do there in 1978. Interiors.
That was today's episode of Woody Allen's Decades in Film, a podcast about the incredible filmography of one of the most prolific and most controversial filmmakers of our time.
Join us again next week for another deep dive on the art of Woody Allen.